the stuff what we will discuss here is that the first part is that linear momentum. Okay, why this linear momentum is there? There is another quantity called angular momentum is there, so that's why they are specifying something called linear momentum. So the first part is
Okay.
it is the product of mass and velocity. So it is a product of mass and velocity, that is called linear momentum. It is a vector quantity. I hope you know vector. Vector is a quantity which is having
Yeah.
magnitude as well as direction. So that is called a vector quantity, m into v bar we will write. So that is the linear momentum which we will say. That is the first factor one. And now there is, after that, they have spoken about Newton's laws of motion 2. Second law of Newton's second law of motion they have spoken about. What does the second law of motion says that the force, the net force, okay, the net force, in fact, to be exact, the net force acting on an object, acting on an object, that is called F net. I will tell you, it is little bit difficult to understand this net force. That is nothing but rate of change of momentum. So anything if I tell rate refers to, rate is about, if I tell something called rate, so generally, in general, rate if I tell, it is like divide that quantity, whatever the quantity you have, with the time. Okay, so this is what you
Okay.
have to remember. When I tell rate, no, you got to divide that particular quantity with time. So in general,
Okay.
it is rate of change of momentum means you have to consider there is a change in the momentum, that is delta p bar. This is how we designate. That is nothing but the change in the final moment, the final momentum minus initial momentum. Okay, you can take the difference of the final momentum and initial momentum. That is what that change. Now
Okay.
this is the change for larger quantity. This, if I write delta p, this refers to large change. Okay, in general. This is in general. If there is a large change in momentum, we'll represent it as delta p bar, that is p final minus p initial. Clear this part?
Okay.
You can make a
Yeah.
note, no problem. If you want to make a note, you can make a note of these things.
Yeah. I'm making notes.
Okay,
So yeah.
I'll wait, no problem.
Okay. I'm done.
Okay, good. Now,
Yeah.
after this, what we do is, you see that if the small, okay, for small changes, we write F bar net as dt bar by dt. Okay, so that is the
Okay.
differential of momentum with respect to time. Anyway, this formula works all the time. This formula works all the time, all the time. There is a twist in the tail for inertial frame of reference. Inertial
Okay.
frame of reference. So by the way, what is this inertial frame of reference? That's most important thing. The most important, and I think this is the most complicated funda I ever know. But like it's a very difficult to express. One of the funda which is difficult to express. I don't know how they have done it at your school. Not sure about that. But I will tell you in my own way. What is this? So there, it's like the first thing is that this inertial frame of reference itself is it's non-existing. Nothing is an inertial frame. First of all, inertial refers to in a simple sense. I'll tell first in a simple sense that suppose a car is moving like this. So you have to grasp this concept. They may not tell this, or they may have told you, or I don't know about that. Suppose a car is moving like this, in this direction. Okay, in the right side.
Yeah.
Got it? Suppose an observer is there. Suppose I am there and watching this car moving away from me. Okay.
Yeah.
And I am not moving. I am standing. Okay. I am standing.
You're standing. Yeah.
I am not moving. Now, in that sense, when I observe the car, I am said to be in the inertial frame. I am said to be in the inertial frame. I hope you understand. So I should not move. Or I move with a constant speed. Constant speed is also okay, but you should not accelerate. So that is one thing you have to keep in mind. But is it possible? The question is that, is it possible that I am not moving at all? I am standing at one place. So practically speaking, it's okay. What is so great about it? You may feel that. But when I am standing on the earth, you see earth is rotating. So in fact, I am also moving. So practically,
you are in motion.
Yes,
you are
definitely.
in motion.
Definitely, I am in motion along with the rotation of the earth. Definitely, I am in the motion when I am rotating along with the earth. So practically speaking, there is nothing like inertial frame. But still, we consider the concept of inertial frame, stating that I am not moving. For the practical considerations, we will take the rotation of earth is not that fast. That means the earth revolving on its own axis. It's not really too fast. So it takes about 24 hours to complete one full rotation, right? So the 24 hours is a long time. So had been the case like it is rotating like our mixie grinder, I cannot tell that I am in the inertial frame, but that 24 hours time is a really long amount of time. So at a particular moment of the movement of a car, when I am watching the car, I can consider that the frame of reference, I am looking from the frame of reference, which is called inertial frame. Sometimes it is also called laboratory frame. Laboratory frame of reference. Okay, this is the hidden thing what is there. That is the first thing. The second thing what you have to keep, you can make a note of this thing if you wish.
Yeah, I'm taking like screenshots.
Yeah, you can take the screenshot, then fine. Yeah, but anyway, the video record will be available to you, no problem.
Okay, yeah.
And now the next part is that you see, and again, the another pickup point is that the Newton's laws of motion are valid only for inertial frames of reference. Inertial frames of reference. Only for the inertial frames of reference, Newton's laws are valid. There is
Okay.
something called accelerating frame of reference. Accelerating frame of reference. That is also called non-inertial frame of reference. Non-inertial frame of reference. So the Newton's laws will fall apart for the when you are also accelerating. See, the thing is that it is like this. I'll tell you the problem. What is the problem do you face? Now the car is going with a simple concept. I'll explain. The car is accelerating like this in the direction, this direction it is accelerating. Suppose I am sitting in the car with my friend. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sitting in the car with my friend and I am the observer. When I am outside, I see my friend, which is he is moving with an acceleration of a. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is that if body is accelerating, there is a force acting on him. Okay, definitely. If there is acceleration, there is force. If there is acceleration, there is force. Okay. If
Yeah.
certain object is accelerating, there is force acting on it. Now let's see that. Let me put myself inside the car. Now, what is the movement of this person with respect to me? Zero. He is not moving at all.
Yeah.
So that means there is no force acting on this person. How come? So that creates a kind of the validity of the Newton's laws have fallen apart. So that's the reason. We'll add something called pseudo force. Pseudo force will add. I will tell you. I'll explain this when it comes in. We'll add a pseudo force in order to make the Newton's laws valid in the non-inertial frame of reference. When you go to non-inertial frame of reference or accelerated frame of reference, add pseudo force. This is the concept which you have to know. Add pseudo force. What is pseudo force? All these things I'll explain this. What is a pseudo force? I'll explain these things. Don't worry much about that. So the concept
Yeah.
wise for the non-inertial frames, a pseudo force will come into the picture. So this is the aspect what you have to keep in mind. For non-inertial frames of reference, you have to add a pseudo force. Clear, ma? So this is about inertial non-inertial frame. They have not discussed much about that, but they may ask you about that. I don't know. The inertial and non-inertial. So I just gave some difference and then try to explain that with some simple words. Now, can I clear this?
Yeah.
I can clear. Next part is that what they told is inertial frame of reference. The rate of change of momentum of a body is equal to resultant force applied on the body. What is this net force concept? I will tell you. The other thing is that the momentum, whatever momentum is there, that is P bar, that is mass into velocity. So that mass is expressed in kg, the velocity is meter second power minus 1. So the units are kg meter second power minus 1. Dimensional formula wise, m is mass and length t power minus 1. This is called momentum.
Okay.
Clear? After this part is clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The next part. The next part, what they have discussed is that now we see that the net force F net is equal to dP bar by dt. We know this. Now,
Yeah.
for an isolated system, What is an isolated system? I'll explain that.
Mm,
What is an isolated
okay.
system? I'll tell you. Isolated system is like when you have a dabba, and in that
Okay.
dabba, suppose two objects are colliding with each other, like this. When two objects are colliding with each other, there won't be no external force. No external force
Mm,
acts on it. There won't be any external force acting on it. Such a system is called isolated system. Let us say A and B are colliding inside a dabba. There is no external force acting on the dabba. So that is isolated. The dabba is called isolated. For such situation, what happens is the net force acting on the system is zero. For isolated system, F net is zero. So you can say F bar net for the vector quantity. You can say F bar net. That part is zero. Clear?
okay.
Now we can say that if F bar net, that is dP bar by dt. In fact, I can write it as delta P bar by delta T for any case of you can say the large change in the momentum. So we can set it to zero, which means that delta P bar is zero. What is delta P bar? I said it is P final minus P initial, that is equal to zero, which means that P bar final is equal to P bar initial. That means we can write initial momentum is equal to, in fact, we'll write total initial momentum is equal to total final momentum. So this is applicable when you are considering a system which is completely isolated and there won't be any force acting on the system. Under that condition, you can say the total initial momentum is equal to total final momentum, or net momentum is constant. So that is another factor you can think of. Or you can say that complete change in the momentum is zero, P final minus P initial is equal to zero. Different ways you can express. So if you say that dP bar by dt is equal to zero, this will give the condition that P bar is constant. So this is condition one. This is condition two. Both the conditions we use. So these two conditions coupled together, we will call it as conservation of momentum. Conservation of momentum. What is this conservation of momentum will say? So the fact is that if no external force acts on the system, if no external force acts on the system, you can say that the momentum is conserved. P final is equal to P initial, we will write. So this condition is that momentum is conserved. Momentum is conserved. So this is the fact what you can write. So this is about conservation of momentum. Okay, now let's write the conservation of momentum for a collision of two balls. So A, B, let us say two balls are there. Their initial velocities, the ball A is having the mass ma, the ball B is having a mass of mb. The initial velocity is ua and the initial velocity of the ball B is u. So you can think of any way they are colliding with each other. They will write in different directions, and that is before collision. and after they will collide with each other, and again after that they separate out. They separate out. So once they separate out, MA and MB, they are separating it out. They will have the final velocities VA and VB. They'll have the final velocities there, V and V. So if I have to write the total initial momentum, we can write it as MA UA bar plus MB UB bar. So this is the initial momentum.
Okay.
Right.
Minus.
And then final momentum. You can write final momentum as MA VA bar plus MB VB bar. Depending upon the magnitude, depending upon the directions, you can put the negative signs or positive signs. That is the difference. And now the conventional equation, if the net force is 0, if you say the net force is 0, that means the system is completely isolated condition. You can always write that the P initial is MA UA bar plus MB UB bar is equal to MA VA bar plus MB VB bar. So this is about conservation of momentum. No external force acts on the system. So you can write up this equation.
Okay.
So initial total momentum is equal to final total momentum. So this is how you can write.
Alright.
So this is done for inertial frame. For inertial frames of reference. Inertial frame of reference. This is done for the inertial frame of reference only. And the other condition is that these are frictionless collisions. Frictionless collisions. These are frictionless collisions. Okay. Because friction, if it is involved, some amount of energy losses will be there. So here, this is a condition of frictionless collision. The condition of frictionless collision. Now we will talk about a different quantity today, that is called impulse. Impulse. We know that the F net is equal to delta P by delta T. This is what is called impulse. I will tell you. This is the net force, and then impulse is given delta P. That is a change in momentum. That is F net into delta T. This F net into delta T is called impulse.
Okay.
F net into delta T. So first, this is the quantity which you are going to define. This is net force is given by this quantity. Net force is delta P by delta T, and delta P is equal to F net into delta T. That is called impulse force into delta T. Is what they have given as per your thing. And there are a lot of things hidden. I don't know what way they will discuss and describe the things. Now I will describe what is there in the text, and I will define the next test of this.
Okay.
We'll see that this is the one. The next one is that okay, we have to deal with another thing, that you have Newton's second law, NLM2. Newton's second law of motion, number 2. That is second law of motion. So we know that F net, so it is mass into acceleration. You would have heard of this. Under what conditions this equation can be written? This equation this equation is true only for the case of mass remaining constant. So we'll see that why it is so. So this equation is not always true. So when someone asks you what is Newton's second law of motion, if you say that F is equal to ma, that is wrong. You have to tell that Newton's second law of motion is rate of change of momentum. That is only the correct equation. And why it is so, I will describe that right now. It's very easy. We'll describe that right now. So let's see this. So you know that F net is dp bar by dt. Now dp bar by dt. This is what the first. And now you know that p bar is nothing but product of mass and velocity.
Yes.
Now let's plug in that here. But unfortunately, these things are not done. They will suddenly give that for you in the exam, I think. That's what I guess. So that's why I want to do that. So F net happens to be d by dt of mv bar. So we'll plug in that. And now we'll apply the product rule of derivative. So we'll write m into dv bar by dt plus v bar into dm by dt. Like this we can write. dm by dt represents rate of change of mass. dm by dt actually represents rate of change of mass. Rate of change of mass. Okay. Okay. dm by dt. This is very, very important. dm by dt represents rate of change of mass. And dv bar by dt is nothing but rate of change of velocity, that you know very well, that is acceleration.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are the things what you have to remember. Now let's plug in the things. Now we'll explain this a little bit with the detail. The F bar net can be written as m into dv bar by dt plus v bar into dm by dt. So you have it. Now when mass m is constant, you can say that the derivative of a constant dm by dt is equal to 0. The derivative of constant is 0 when mass is constant. And as I told you, the dv bar by dt, that happens to be acceleration a bar. Okay.
Okay.
So when you substitute the stuff like this, so what you are going to get is F bar net is going to be mass into acceleration plus 0. This part is anyway 0. So that is 0. That is me bar. So F net is mass into acceleration. So, but this equation is used 90% of times. 90% of times, mass will not change. Mass will not change. Okay.
Okay.
will not change. So under this condition, we can use this equation. That is fine. Now there are the situations where mass will change, but the velocity can remain constant. That is also there. Mass will change with time, but the velocity remains constant. I tell you that condition where the mass remains the changing, mass changes, but the velocity remains constant. I'll tell you that. There are two situations I will tell you. Two situations we'll discuss. So the situation one is that if we'll consider a car is of mass, let us say like 2000 kg, is moving with an acceleration of 3 meters second power minus 2. Okay, and then find the net force on the car. So if they ask you what is the net force on the car, that is fine. You can do this 2000 kg multiplied by acceleration. Acceleration is 3 meters second power minus 2. 3 meters second power minus 2. So 2000 into 3 is about 6000. This kg meter second power minus 2. This is called newtons. 1 Newton is the unit of force. 1 Newton is 1 kg meter second power minus 2. This is the unit of force. 1 Newton. It is represented as N. Okay.
Yes.
That's the first part.
Okay.
And now this is very simple. That is 6000 newtons. So 6000 Newton force is applied on the car in order to make it move. That is the first part of to have an idea about the numbers. This is how. And now let us understand what is a 10 Newton force. Suppose you consider a 1 kg block, 1 kg ball, okay, metal ball of 1 kg. Let's take the gravity as 10 meters second power minus 2. Let us consider the gravity as 10 meters second power minus 2. And now the gravity will pull this mass downwards with a force of mg.
Okay.
Gravity pulls down. So mass is 1 kg, and the gravity is 10 meters second power minus 2. So that creates a force of 10 kg meter second power minus 2. This is about 10 Newton force. So when you see a 1 kg block, that creates the weight of the block itself is 10 Newtons. So to have an idea. So if I say that 50 Newton force, 50 Newton force means you can imagine a 5 kg block. Okay. 50 Newton force refers to a 5 kg block.
Okay.
Clear, ma? So these are the foremost ideas about the force.
Yeah.
So this is a basic idea about the force. Now, let's see the next part. So I told you about the situation where the mass keeps varying. So variation of the mass, but the velocity remains constant. So that is the situation we are talking about. So here we go. Suppose there is a conveyor belt. So have you seen the conveyor belt in any factory or somewhere?
Yeah.
The conveyor belt. What happens here is in the factories, there will be a machine which will be pouring some kind of sand or your ore or something. Okay, right? So for a refining machine, the machinery will pour some ore on this. Okay. So it will be falling like a heap. Okay, it will be falling like a heap. Now, this heap, whatever falls on the conveyor belt, there will be some rolling cylinders in there. Okay, there will be some rolling cylinders in there. So, practical application, I'm telling you. So, there will be some rolling cylinders in there. So, on these rolling cylinders, this conveyor belt will be pulling this off. This heap is out. Heap will be pulled like this. Okay, I hope you are getting. So it forms a small heaps. These heaps will be pulling off. Okay. And now here comes the situation. Rate of change of mass will come here. Why? Change of mass will come into picture here. Assume that this conveyor belt is pulling the things, this heaps, with a velocity of 5 meters second inverse. Now, the mass is falling at a rate of 5 kg per second. So, for each 1 second, there will be a 5 kg mass which will be falling on this conveyor belt. I hope you are getting this. If you are not getting, please let me know.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
that is my
getting
dm by dt. So that is the rate at which there will be 5 kg mass will be falling on this conveyor belt. So this heap is about 5 kg. At every second, it will sprinkle 5 kg mass over the conveyor belt. So that is what is dm by dt. That is the rate of change at which the mass is coming. And the velocity with which the conveyor belt is pulling this mass is 5 meters second inverse. And now the question is calculate the force with which the conveyor belt is force applied by the machinery in order to pull these masses. So like that the question will come. The force, the net force applied on the conveyor belt is given by rate of change of mass, that is dm by dt, times the velocity with which it is pulled. Okay. So the dm by dt is 5 kg second inverse and the velocity is 5 meters second inverse. So you will get 25 newtons from here. So the conveyor belt is pulled by the machinery with a force of 25 newtons. So this is how you can 25 newtons is about, you can think of it is about 2.5 kg force it is applying. So it's applying a force of 2.5 kg in order to pull these masses with the velocity 5 meters second inverse. Got it? So this is like a practical application, what you can see. So this is the case where you can have the mass can vary and the velocity can remain constant. So the thing is, what you have to take home message is that the net force which is acting on it can be like dm by dt into v, or the net force can be mass into acceleration. So actually it can be both also. You can have this like both. So it will be like mass into acceleration plus dm by dt into v bar. So both are possible. So this is actually the Newton's second law of motion. It is not mass into acceleration anymore. So based on this, they can couple some question for you and then give it. That is the predicted question. The next one is the third law of motion. What they told is about the third law of NLMP. Newton's third law of motion is what they described. The third law of motion is about you have for every action there is equivalent opposite reaction that we know very well. The force that A acts on B is negative of force that B acts on A. So that is the Newton's
Okay.
third law of motion, and the action and reaction will occur in phase. Will occur in phase, and they act on this information is not given in your thing, but they act on different bodies. Different bodies. That is the first point which you have to know. Action reaction will occur in phase, and they act on different bodies. That is first thing. Okay. The next one is
Yeah.
action and reaction will occur in phase, and they act on different bodies. The next thing, action and
Well,
reaction.
how will they like act on different bodies? I
Yeah,
mean,
I will
like
say.
they
I'll tell
act
you.
on.
Yeah, they will act on different bodies. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I'll draw the figures and I'll let you. Action
Okay.
reaction are the forces of same nature. They are the forces of same nature. Same nature means I'll let you know. Suppose the
Okay.
action is gravitational. Suppose the action is gravitational force. The reaction force will be also gravitational. So that's most important.
Okay.
Gravitational force. Reaction is also gravitational force. They will be also same nature. Suppose your action force is electrical in nature. The reaction force is also electrical in nature. Suppose your action force is a spring force. The reaction force will be also like a spring force. Okay.
Okay.
So the forces will be of the same nature. You don't have the one. I have provided gravitational force and it produces electricity. So the gravitational force is the action and the electricity is the reaction. If you tell, that is the worst way of telling the action reaction forces. Okay. If I say the action is gravitation, the reaction is also gravitation.
Okay.
The action is the wind force. The reaction is also should be like a wind force.
Okay, like
So
equal.
like that, they are like the same nature. The forces
Okay.
are of same nature. That's one most important. The other thing is that, let's see, you asked me about the how the forces will act on each other. So let us say it is like this. So let's say this is the mass m and this is the earth. Okay. And now the earth will pull this object. You have there is something called gravitation. In the gravitation chapter, we will learn that two masses are pulled by some gravitational force minus g
Mm.
m1 m2 by r square, where r is the distance between the two masses. Okay, something like that. Okay,
Okay.
so it is like for the point masses, you can use this. If the masses are really large, it is from the center of the masses. Okay, and now suppose this earth is pulling this mass towards it, right? It always, earth pulls the mass towards its center with this force. Okay, and now the reaction force is that mass also attracts the earth with the same amount of force. That's the reaction force. Okay, now I'll explain this one thing. You see, the force on the mass m, the force on the mass m is the action because of the earth. Okay, the force on the mass m, you know this, you are very much convinced because the apple which fell down, that you know very well. So assume that that is the mass, apple which fell down. And now the apple is attracted by the earth, means the mass is attracted by the earth. That is the force of the earth on this mass. Okay, that is the object one. So let us say this is object A. Clear? And now if I say the
Okay.
mass is attracting the earth towards it, means that is on B. That is the earth. Earth is being attracted by this mass. This is very difficult to get convinced, but this is true. And now another thing is that, let us say this one. Suppose you have what is that? You see this one. So here you go. You have the okay. What are the other things? Okay, I can tell you about this one. So let us say this A is in contact with B. There are something like contact forces. So the contact force. So A is in contact with B. That means A is pressing B. Assume.
Okay.
So A is pressing B. So B will take some force F because of you. So that is called FAB. Like this, in a very simple sense. So A will be pressing B. B will take a force of FAB, and similarly, B will apply a force on A, that is on A, that is FBA. The FBA acts on A, actually, acts on A. And similarly, FAB acts on B. Acts on B. Okay, so this is the general convention notation. So you understood that the action reaction forces will not occur on the same object. That is most important. Action and reaction forces, action and reaction forces do not occur on the same object. They occur on different objects. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the thing what you have to. So here you go. The next part is that they were actually telling you something. I had to discuss something called Bion force also. So can I clear this?
Yeah, okay.
Now the tension in Bion force. There are two things I had to tell you. Now suppose there's a rigid support through which one spring will be there. And for this one ball is tied of mass. Okay. And now, because of the ball, this ball is attracted by the earth with the force of mg downwards. And the spring, what is attached to the ball, will resist its fall by applying an equal and opposite force, that is called tension force. Tension. Okay. That's called tension force. That equal and opposite, the tension force T is equal to mg. Okay, this happens at equilibrium. So this happens at equilibrium. Now, the other thing is that what is the direction of the tension? There is another thing. Direction of tension. This is another important funda in Newton's laws of motion. Direction of tension is given by the tension always acts away from the point. The tension always acts away from the point. Tension always acts away from the point. This is what you have to remember. And now you see this. This is the point of contact. Away from the point of contact. Away from point of contact, you can say point of contact. And now you see this. This is the point of contact. You have to draw away from the point of contact. That's the direction of tension. So at different points in the string, at different points in the string, tension will have different directions. Tension will have different directions. Different directions. At different points in the string, tension will have different directions. So this is what you have to keep in mind. So this is the tension force. A little bit about the tension force. Okay, Rama? So this is one idea. The next idea is about the Bion force. I'll explain what is the Bion force. What is buoyancy is that, see, when you have a liquid, especially, of course, gases also have buoyancy. Suppose you have a liquid. Suppose you have a liquid, and in the liquid, suppose you place a ball. Suppose you place a ball. The ball or a sphere. The sphere is having the radius of r. Okay, ma'am. Sphere of radius r. You have put the sphere of radius r. And now you have a force of mg will be acting downwards. There's no problem. So that is the mass of the sphere. Mass of sphere is, let us say, ms, will write. So to have more clarity, we'll write ms times g. This is the force acting downwards because of the gravitational force. But there is one thing. When you try to weigh the sphere inside the liquid, you will not get the original mass. When you try to weigh the sphere inside the liquid, you will not get the original mass. That is because of something called buoyancy. The Bion force will act exactly opposite to the gravity. Okay, upwards. The buoyancy will act exactly opposite to the gravity. So that is given by Fb. Okay. So the net force is always, net force for a ball which is inside the liquid is given by mg, that is the mass of the sphere, into g minus F Bion force. Okay. See why I have written this one minus this, because you see anyway the sphere will settle down. That means the dominating force is the gravitational force. So that's why I have taken this minus Bion force. Anyway, that mass will settle down. No, when you drop it inside the liquid, it will settle down. That means gravitational force is more. And that too, when you drop the sphere outside, onto the ground, it will move with the force of mg downwards. Okay, you know that very well. It will move with the gravitational acceleration of g. But it will not be moving with the same speed. It will be moving with a lesser speed when it is inside the liquid. That you know very well. The reason is being Bion force. The net force is mg minus Bion force. Now, how to calculate the Bion force? Okay, that is our task. So how do we calculate Bion force? That's where we will. And now you see this. Suppose you are in a liquid. You have put the sphere inside the liquid. The sphere is dropped inside the liquid. Let us say MS. And the volume of the sphere, you know how to calculate. If this is having a radius of r, so you know that's a 4/3 pi r cube. You will calculate that, right?
Yeah.
There is nothing to do. Now this sphere, when it is falling inside the liquid, it will displace some liquid. It will displace the same volume of liquid. Okay, same volume, Vs. Okay, Vs for liquid. Okay. So you can say that the volume of the sphere is equal to the volume of the liquid displaced. So first we write this. Volume of the sphere is equal to the volume of the liquid displaced. This is the basic Archimedes principle only we are using. So volume of the sphere when it is thrown inside the liquid, that is equal to volume of the liquid displaced. First part is there. The next part what you have to know is the density of the liquid. Density of liquid, let us say it is dl. Density of the liquid is dl. Now the mass of liquid will calculate. Mass of liquid is nothing but VL, that is the liquid displaced, into density of the liquid dl. See, volume into density is mass, right? Volume into density is mass. Density is equal to mass by volume. Mass by volume. So volume into density is nothing but mass. Mass is equal to volume into density. So when you plug in that, now what actually the volume of the liquid displaced, that is nothing but the volume of the sphere, okay, times the density of the liquid. You can do that, right? Because volume of the liquid displaced is nothing but the volume of the sphere. Okay, a little bit confusing.
Okay.
Okay. Now what you have to do is the mass of liquid displaced is given by the volume of the sphere times density of the liquid. So this is how you can get. So the Bion force is very simple after that. Bion force is mass of the liquid displaced times gravity. That's it. That's how we calculate the Bion force. So we can simply write the equation volume of the sphere times density of the liquid times the gravity. That is how you calculate the Bion force. Bion force calculation is like this. So it is mass of the liquid displaced times gravity. If you do that, what you get is Bion force. Okay, ma?
Yes, okay.
Okay. Now, this is sufficient today. With this, we'll stop, and then maybe Saturday you are available?
Yeah. How about we study maths on Saturday? Is it okay?
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Because,
so you can choose
because
a
I
subject.
have like a
Yeah, you can choose a subject. No
because
issues.
yeah, I have like a test on Monday, and so I felt like it's better if we study math on Saturday.
Okay.
Is it okay?
No problem. No issues.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what are the subject you choose. These are the points what you have to know from the sheets what you have sent me. So from that, these are the predicted questions what you can think of.
Okay.
Okay, ma. Okay. And now the calculations. I hope you understood the calculations, and then keep watch the video so that you will have the better idea about this. If you have any doubt, you just go back to the video and see. Anyway, I'll send the record by soon. I'll send the record by soon.
Okay.
Okay, ma. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, thank you. You too. Bye, sir.
Bye.